Hello, my friends. We're going live. Hold on a second. I'm trying to get Instagram going here too. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't want to. Still not working. I've got it. Okay. Gonna have fun in a minute. Checking connection. That's a good sign. All right, welcome to Thought Shifting Thursdays. Sorry about the technical difficulties there, but I do believe we're live, except that, I don't know. There we are. We're live on Instagram too. Okay, so somebody's joined as well. So what we're going to talk about today is summed up by the title of this book. Not that I'm recommending the book necessarily, but I wanted to use the book just as an example as to introduce the subject. So some of you have probably heard about it. It's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a... I don't know, it's hard to read that last word because there's a splotch on my book. Anyway, you get the idea. I'll say the whole title if somebody puts in the chat that you want me to. But you probably don't care anyway. So here's, how many people watching live or watching this later, and you can put this in the chat as well, or in the comment or in the post comments. But how many people are just tired of talking about the pandemic or listening to people talking about the pandemic? Isn't it almost the first thing that comes up in conversation? At least in my world, it is. And not that there's anything bad about that. It's a pretty relevant topic, right? And yet, there's the subtlety. By the way, the subtle art of not giving a fuck, there I said it, really is about non-attachment. And I think I read some of this book, didn't get all the way through it. It's not a writing style I like all that much. And there's a lot better books, teachings, that I resonate with more. Busting Loose from the Money Game is my favorite one. It's Buddhism, non-attachment put in very engaging modern day terms. My book, The Magic of the Soul, talks about it as well. But the subtlety of it is what I want to get to, the subtlety of non-attachment. And one of the things I've noticed, and I'll give you an example of this, and then I'm going to apply it to, I'm not going to talk about the pandemic, I'm going to talk about not talking about the pandemic. But one example I'll give from my personal life is I've been having pain in my hip lately. And I play competitive tennis, and so, it gets in the way. I've been playing singles, I've been playing doubles because that doesn't hurt it too much, it's just a little bit. And you've probably noticed the same dynamic. At some point, I get to the point where I just no longer give a heck. I just don't care anymore. I'm just going to go about my business. I've been doing things to heal it. I'm doing stretching. I'm doing different things. And, it gets better, then it gets worse. And, but I can just tell within my own psyche, when I get to that place where I just don't care anymore, sometimes I think that's even more powerful than focusing on the positive, right? So, my practice is, one of my go-to practices is when I feel the pain, I simply pivot my attention, shift my attention to what I want. I want to have a completely healthy hip. I see myself running with no pain, painless tennis. And so that's powerful. And yet I really feel like when I get to the point where I just don't care anymore, I'm just going to go on, I'm going to accept it the way it is, and go on and do what I can do to the best of my ability. So the way I see this happening in the pandemic is things are getting better, at least here in California. I haven't checked the numbers because I don't check all the numbers regularly, but I know just from hearing people talk about it that things are getting better all of a sudden. And I have a feeling that has something to do with the fact that there's a vaccine that is now being administered. Because up until this point, when there didn't seem to be any end in sight, even though we knew there was a vaccine coming, we weren't really seeing a way out of it. Things were just getting worse and worse and worse. And there was a hope of this vaccine. Now that it's here, my sense is that there is less worry. There's less fear. There is an end in sight. And so I don't think the vaccine actually being administered is what's making the numbers go down, because it's a very small percentage of the population. But could there be a correlation between people feeling like, and I know there's a lot of people that aren't going to get vaccinated, right? And maybe those people are already not worrying about it because they're just feeling safe enough without a vaccine. But for the people that have been really worried, and could it be that now that there is an end in sight, the less worry is why things are getting better? We so many. I know that virtually everyone that watches my videos, is understanding about the law of attraction, and that our thoughts create our reality, right? And so we're really good at that with easy things. With things that are really challenging, we tend to throw that out the window and get really practical, right? And practicality is a good thing. Wearing a mask is a good thing. Social distancing is a good thing. But, when we worry about something or in fear about something, we're lowering our immune system, just to talk about something that happens on a physiological level. So I think that's the message for today, is whatever might be challenging us in our lives, how about if we simply accept it and move on? And yes, it's still helpful to focus on the positive, what we really want, but for today's message, it's getting beyond the need to focus on the positive, because we're in trust. I think that is the way I want to express it the most. That word trust comes to me so often. When I get to the place where I just don't care anymore, I'm trusting that everything's going to be fine regardless. I said this to my chiropractor the other day. If I never play singles again in my life, which I know I will, but if I didn't, I would accept it, and I just play doubles and have a great time until I can't play doubles anymore, because I know my body's not going to be able to support that until the day I die. My mom, though, was playing tennis up to 2 weeks before she passed away. At 93, by the way. So it could be pretty close to possible. So trust, when we get to that place of just trusting that everything is going to be okay no matter what. It's a powerful thing, right? I'll tell you, this dovetails with a story I often tell about Lynn Twist, who wrote a book called The Soul of Money. And she was lecturing, this was about 20 years ago, I saw her lecture at an agent conference, Association for Global New Thought. And she said it this way. She said that, I think when in New Thought or self-help, we're affirming prosperity, that what we're really doing in a subtle way is affirming lack. I'm saying an affirmation because I feel that there's not enough. She said, what if rather than affirming prosperity, we affirm sufficiency, that we've always had enough? Because we wouldn't be in, as she said, this room, or we wouldn't be reviewing this video right now. I wouldn't be doing this video if there hasn't always been enough. And she went on to say, how often in our lives, especially in our culture, the richest country in the world, and yet we feel like there's not enough because maybe my next door neighbor has a better car than me, or a bigger house, or whatever it might be. Or maybe my neighbor has a house and I live in an apartment, right? So seems to always not to be enough. But it's not just in terms of possessions or resources. How often do we wake up in the morning and say, I didn't get enough sleep last night? Starting the day from a point of lack. How often, and this is the one that hit me, right at home, is how often do I say, there's not enough time to do this, to do that? And so then she pointed out that at a very, very subtle level, getting back to the subtle art, right? At a very subtle level, if I don't have enough resources, I didn't get enough sleep, I don't have enough time, that what that really is saying is that I'm not enough. And for me, where that really tied in at the time, because I still had a lot of emotional investment in my worthiness being attached to how much I accomplished in a day. And I would get like tense if I wasn't getting done my list of things in a day. And how I just turned that around and shifted, and I was obviously ready for this shift because it happened, very fully for me completely, is it's been a gradual process, gotten better and better in this regard. But whatever I get done in a job, in a day, is enough because that's what got done. And so I think that applies to everything. My hip is healthy enough because that's how healthy it is. My prosperity level is absolutely enough because that's what it is. I'm teaching a class right now in Byron Katie, which, I've quoted her before, that she says, I don't argue with reality because I'm a spiritual person. I don't argue with reality because it hurts. And I would add to that, I never win that argument, not once. So it's simply about being at peace with what is. And so let's leave it at that. Let's take it into meditation. Take a nice deep breath. Let's meditate for a moment on trust. And maybe even look at different areas of my life, your life, our lives, our collective lives. What do they look like? Simply embodying a higher level of trust that everything is going to be okay. That I simply stop worrying, stop living in fear, and start knowing that everything is happening for a divine purpose. Take a deep breath into your life, my life, our lives, living at the vibration of trust. And what I instantly feel as I go into deep trust is a higher level, a higher vibration, freedom and joy. And what I've said over and over and over again is this is the secret to all good things happening. Simply living from an inner experience of freedom, joy, love, and trust. And that's it for today, my friends. Continue to meditate on trust as long as you want after we go off the air here. And we'll see you again next week. All right. Love y'all.